Well, hello. Doing a video here tonight. Incredibly rainy outside. We're experiencing one of those early summer storms here in Atlantic Canada. We're dumping almost 100 millimeters of rain outside, so I thought it'd be a good night to do a video on my intercom system. In the second video I did on this bike, I talked briefly about the intercom system I use, and I'm making some changes to it. And I thought it'd be a great time to talk a little bit about what I've done and some of the problems I've had and challenges I've had, and some of the things I like about my setup and how I'm going to set it up so it'll be in its final setting for this year. First of all, I use a Cardo Scala, or Scala Cardo, I guess, Q2 Pro intercom system. There's a Q2 and a Q2 Pro. And when you buy the Q2 Pro, you can buy it in a set where you get two intercoms, system radios like I did. So basically I want one for myself and my passenger. Or you can just buy a single unit if you're just permanently solo and you just want to use the Bluetooth functionality in the radio. I want to use both. I want to be able to talk to a passenger who's on the back of the bike as opposed to flipping up my helmet and yelling over my shoulder. I want to be able to just talk into a mic and carry on conversation while I'm driving. So I bought the Q2 Pro set, okay? And I bought that last summer. And the only reason I bought the Q2 Pro, or the primary reason, I did a little bit of research, not a whole lot. The primary reason I bought the Q2 Pro was just because it was at my local BMW dealer and they highly recommended it. They basically said the system was one that they use or that they sell the most of, and it's reasonably priced. I think I paid $250 for the set, and it works well, and they don't have a lot of complaints with it. The radio consists of two of these little modules that clip into a very dirty helmet here, but they clip into a base that is actually mounted permanently in the helmet. The base consists of an interface of some sort, a microphone on a boom that goes up underneath the lip of the helmet, if you can see that, and I'll do a close-up here to complement this. There's a boom and mic that goes into the helmet. Then there's a lead that goes up underneath the liner of the helmet with two speakers, one on either ear. I made a big modification to mine, is that I don't like road noise. I'm very fussy about that. I'm 43 years old. And I'm not sure if my hearing, I don't want to lose my hearing, I guess, first of all. And I think I've become more sensitive to that constant buffeting white noise that you can get, especially with these Arise. They're notoriously loud. As comfortable as they are, they're very, very loud, I find anyway, compared to Shui and compared to HJC and some of those other brands. I find the Shui's the Arise very loud. So to add a speaker, and I think I mentioned this in my other video, a speaker to that noise is just too much for me. So what I did was, I have been using, historically, prior to buying this intercom, I used these little earbuds on an iPod, okay? These are Skull Candy inked earbuds, very inexpensive, about $20 here in Canada. You can buy them just about anywhere. And I bought 2 or 3 sets because I used them on my electronic drum set, and I used them on my iPod when I fly, and I use them on this system when I'm on my motorcycle. What I did was I clipped the wires. I opened up the little module, the base that the radio clips into, which is actually, I use the tape to hold it to the helmet as opposed to the clamp. So I taped that on, I clipped the 2 wires going to the little speakers that go in the ear pockets. I then in turn opened up the module and took a look at which one was right and which one was left and which one was positive and which one was negative. And I wired in my own little jack, 3.5 millimeter jack, so I can use earbuds. And these earbuds work great. These Skull Candy Ink, for $20, they are the best noise attenuation earbuds I've come across, and I've tried them all. For me, these work the best. When I put these in, I hear very little ambient sounds. I hear enough that I feel it's safe. In other words, if I'm driving on my motorcycle and hear the engine, I can hear cars around me, I can hear horns, I can hear tire squealing, those sorts of things, but it's not the wind noise, the excessive hissing and buffeting, even with a windshield, that noise is dramatically reduced. So that's worked for me. So my Q2 Pro is what I use, and the difference between the Q2 and the Q2 Pro is that the Q2 Pro supports what is known as A2DP Bluetooth. And all that means is, and I didn't know that at the time when I bought this because they only had this one available as opposed to the older Q2. But A2DP protocol, Bluetooth protocol, is different from the little bit I know about it. There's different protocols of Bluetooth. That particular protocol supports stereo. Okay? So if I was using this to connect to an iPod, for example, a Bluetooth capable iPod, the sound would be very good. Bluetooth with this would be great, okay? The downside to this particular unit, which isn't a huge issue for me, and I'll tell you my setup in just a moment, is that it can only connect to one Bluetooth device in addition to the intercom at any one time. The intercom uses a different layer of some sort. I don't understand exactly how it works, but the intercom between the two radios is always there in first priority. And then behind that, you can either have your cell phone, Bluetooth cell phone, or a Bluetooth iPod or some other MP3 device, music device, or a Bluetooth-enabled GPS system, which calls out commands as you drive. What I've figured out, or the way I use this, is this here particular unit. I use the Bluetooth intercom, of course. I use it with my cell phone, which is a BlackBerry. In my iPod, I connect using this jack here, and there's actually a plug-in on the base here. One goes into your iPod, and the other one goes into the base of the radio. So you get this wire here hanging down, which I don't love, but it's a good compromise. So I get music when I drive, I get intercom if I want, and I can also receive phone calls. The phone call, I'll just speak brief, the phone call portion of this, or the BlackBerry portion of this, is very good. The quality of the sound to the people who are calling you, I mean, very few people would ever realize you're driving a motorcycle, believe it or not. Its calls are very clear, their voice is clear to you, and your voice is clear to them. That works great. What I have decided to do, though, right now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to permanently mount my iPod, not permanently mount, but more stably mount my iPod and my GPS onto the bike. Just as a side note, I just talked about GPS in one Bluetooth device. I use a GPS that really doesn't have Bluetooth. It's not what they call a Zumo GPS, which is a motorcycle specific one. I use a Nuvi GPS, and a Nuvi GPS is designed for a car. And I use it on the bike in a water-sealed containment unit, which is made by Ram Mount. Okay, Ram Mount is a very well-known mounting system. Different components you can buy to create your own system. And it's basically a rubber ball stud that you mount somewhere on your motorcycle or your car or your airplane or your boat, wherever, and you in turn stack up units onto that ball. You can mount an arm to it, and then on the end of that arm you can mount a plate, and on that plate you can mount some sort of containment device, whether it's for an iPod, a BlackBerry, a GPS, whatever. There's different mounting plates. Their systems are not terribly expensive, about $40 per device. So my BlackBerry, for example, is something I keep inside my tank bag because I do not want to text or email. All I want to be able to do is to answer phone calls. Don't want to make outbound phone calls on a motorcycle. And some would argue that even inbound phone calls are not safe. That's your decision to make. I've assumed the risk of accepting inbound phone calls. But otherwise, the BlackBerry is tucked inside the tank bag. The GPS, on the other hand, is also something that I don't use as reliantly as some other folks do who ride motorcycles. Some people would have that thing plastered right up in the middle of their field of view so they can constantly receive direction from it, okay? And that direction typically would come as the Bluetooth device coming through the intercom, I'm not that reliant upon it. It's something I would refer to. I would pull over, take a quick gander, see how far I am to the next turn or how far I need to go to my destination. But that's about as reliant as I've ever become on a GPS system. So I don't need any interaction with my intercom. So that's not an issue. The music, as I mentioned, I do like that. I like listening to the radio, which my iPod, I have an iPod Touch, 5th generation iPod Touch, which has Bluetooth, and I'll talk about that in a minute. As I mentioned, I wire that in. That will be mounted here also. So the GPS is going to be mounted here on the side using the RAM mounting system. I've got what they call an Aqua Box because mine is not waterproof. It's a 2595 LMT model, Nuvi by Garmin. Very small, very light, compact. It's, I think, last year's sort of main model that Garmin put out for cars. It will mount on a RAM mount system here on the bars, coming off one of these. I'm going to mount the stud, and I'll post a separate video for that, but I'm going to mount that up here, almost so it's hovering over top of the clutch fluid reservoir. And I'm going to mount the iPod, almost a mirror image, up over the front brake reservoir, sort of hovering up over that area. So it's out of way of my gauges and my key, okay? And my mirrors, and my field of view when I'm driving. So that's what I do. So, this little intercom system, which I started out here with, is great. It's great for what I use it for. A wired iPod, intercom system with Bluetooth phone. When the Bluetooth does kick in from my telephone, for example, if I have somebody on the back that I'm using the intercom with and the telephone rings, they don't hear the call, just me, okay? They can actually set up their own iPod or their own Bluetooth phone to their own intercom, so we could actually have two autonomous telephone conversations going on. When we're both done, we can go back to resume our conversation via the intercom. Very slick, and I do recommend it if that's all you need. However, in the name of fussiness, and there's always a place to spend your money, I'm considering upgrading from my Q2 system to what is known as a new Q3 system, which just came out this year. And the Q3 system allows Bluetooth to your phone, the intercom, of course, as mentioned, Bluetooth to your phone, and simultaneous Bluetooth to your iPod. So you can actually have two Bluetooth devices in addition to the intercom simultaneously. So you could be listening to music via Bluetooth and still receive phone calls, which would temporarily interrupt the music, and then it would resume the music after your telephone call is over. That's appealing to me. And that I do have that now technically with the wired setup, but that wire I find obtrusive at times. I do find it catches sometimes on my shoulder, sometimes it catches on the corner of the bike, and you have to remember to unplug it when you get off the bike. So this just, the idea of going to the Q3, that's one of the benefits, is that it would eliminate that wire, okay, going to the headset. And that's appealing to me. The Q3 also has additional range, and this particular unit, even though I'm only using it as an intercom, this particular unit here has a range of about 1/4 mile, and I believe the Q3 has doubled that. Now, if I was talking to many people off the bike, in other words, if I was in a group ride and I wanted to talk with the other people on the ride and create conversations, simultaneous conversations among many people, in other words, 3 or 4 of us all riding and talking together, I would step up to the G9 model. The G9 model gets all the things I've spoken about, plus I think it allows a 3rd or 4th Bluetooth simultaneous connection. It allows group conversations. A lot more expensive though. So that would be the G9 model. The convention of naming and their designs are inconsistent. This Cardo Scala, each model looks a little different. They use different letters and numbers, I'm not sure why, but generally speaking, there's 4 different models they make. I'm assuming with the Q3 out, they'll stop production on this Q2, so they'll go back to 3. And the basic one is what they call a Solo, which is doesn't have any intercom capability built in. I think it's designed specifically just to use your cell phone. Basically a Bluetooth headset, that's all it is. Okay? So, as I do the installation of the RAM mount, I'll do a separate video on that because I think that is a system that is, if you're trying to figure out how to mount all your goodies, it's a great system. It's very inexpensive. We actually have a dealer here in Canada that I'm going to use. But the mounting system is very inexpensive and it's very universal. I've chosen the handlebar screws to use, handlebar bolts, but you could use countless other sort of areas to mount your units on. I'll talk a little bit more about that when I do that video. But I do recommend this, and if you can get a hold of one cheap used, you'd be hard pressed to find a better deal if you're doing it the same way I am. Anyway, until next time.